Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Maryland PTAC. We are glad you could join us this morning. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak, and I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here at the Maryland PTAC. Today, the webinar topic is Doing Business with the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, and we are going to hear from Wande Leintu, who is a Deputy VP of Supply Diversity, and Lizbeth Bryan, who is a Director of Procurement and Contracts. Good morning and welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to get started very shortly. There will be lots of opportunities to ask the presenters your questions. And the way you do that is by typing out your questions in the chat box on your screen. We will try to get to as many questions as possible throughout the event. I do have to let you know that this webinar is being recorded and it will be available probably later this afternoon on the Maryland PTAC website. So you can watch the replay if you wish to. A copy of the slides will be emailed to you as soon as the webinar is completed. A little bit about the Maryland PTAC. It is our mission to help Maryland-based businesses to fully compete in state, local, and federal government procurement processes. Our services are free and confidential. If you would like to speak with a counselor, all you have to do is go to our website, mdptac.org, and register. If you've been counseled before and need further help, please email your counselor. They are there and waiting to help you succeed in government contracting. Okay, we are going to get started now. So who's going to be first to speak, Wande or Lizbeth?
I am.
Okay, good morning, Lizbeth. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, and it is our pleasure in presenting this morning on how to do business with the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority. And thank you again for joining us. My colleague, Ms. Wande Leintu, and I are both passionate and excited about presenting on procurement, our supplier diversity program, to our business community. This is how we create opportunities for you. I would like to really thank the Maryland PTAC for this invitation. And so we're going to get started. Next slide, please. So MWAA, as it's called for short, or the Airports Authority, we today are part of the Office of Supply Chain Management. And it includes our Supply Diversity Department, Procurement and Contracts Department, and our Technology and Admin Departments. Now, let me just give you a brief overview of what each of these functions does. The Supply Diversity team is really an integral part of the procurement process. It implements the Airports Authority's socioeconomic and social concerns programs. And Wande will definitely take you through all those programs that she has available that really assists our small business communities. Procurement contract definitely is what I am responsible for. And that procures all goods and services, including construction and concession, for the Airports Authority. We're the only department that has delegated authority to really contract with the community on behalf of the Airports Authority. And our Technology and Administration department, it's an important function. It produces the data and reportings used in making informed decision, how we go to market, who is in our supplier base, and exactly what the business community is requesting of us. Next slide. So a little bit about the Airports Authority. We are a public body. We were created by joint legislative action between the Commonwealth of Virginia and the District of Columbia. All this means is that the airports has vested or is vested with some, if not all, powers afforded governmental bodies. So MWAA is viewed as a quasi-governmental body. And in doing so, because we are a public body, the Metropolitan Washington Airports Act of 1986, which is a congressional act, authorizes the lease of Dulles and Reagan National to MWAA to manage these airports. And within the lease, it states that we shall obtain to the maximum extent practicable full and open competition through the use of published competitive procedures. All this means is that we need to compete for our contracting opportunities, and this allows for full transparency into the contracting process. We are managed by a board of directors, and through that action, our Airports Authority Contracting Manual has been approved, which sets forth our procurement policy on how we acquire goods, services, including construction and concessions. A little known fact about MWAA: we are definitely recognized as a public body, and most public bodies are funded by taxpayers or the federal government. MWAA is not. MWAA is self-funding and gets most of its funds from airlines and non-airline revenues. It does, however, at times receive federal funds for airports improvements and rail projects. So if I could see everyone, I would ask, who is aware, who knew that the airports is building the Metrorail Phase 2 Silver Line out to Dulles Airport? A lot of people may think that is WMATA that's doing that, but no, MWAA is building the Phase 2 Silver Line out to Dulles. And after we have completed the construction, at that point in time, the rail system will be turned over to WMATA to own and manage as a part of the complete metro system. Next slide, please. So really, this slide gives you an insight into the type of contracting opportunities that we offer. We have goods and services, design and construction included, A&E, construction management, our simplified acquisition, which is our small purchases, and that has a limit of 150, and of course our concessions. So if you don't know what we mean by concessions, when you get into the airport and you see these beautiful shops with all these fineries and our food offerings, that is what we consider to be concessions. MWAA is like a little city. We procure and contract for all our needs. Whatever we need, we contract for. No different from the state of Maryland or the District of Columbia or WMATA or WSSC. Everything we need: construction, concession, staff, org, vehicle. We have a police and fire department. We procure for all their needs. We have IT, our technologies, and our technology department that is often on the street for products and services, office supplies. We have an inventory. We have inventory within the Airports Authority that we stock stuff for our repetitive needs so we can maintain and upkeep the airports. So with that, you get the picture that we're out there all the time and no one else is procuring for us except our procurement staff and our needs and our requirements are given to us through our end user or our business offices. All right. Next slide, please. So it's just, I mean, this is a very important slide as far as I'm concerned. This is what we did in 2020 while we were in COVID. And we are a small agency. We have over 1,600 employees, and but we serve and millions of our traveling public and those who visit us at the airports. But for such a small agency, in 2020, during COVID, we had over 500 active contracts. We average annually when we publish on, and I'll talk about that, the limits of which we publish on our website. We publish between 100 and 150 opportunities. In 2020, we awarded over 100 with a value of approximately 52.4 million. And those opportunities were in excess of 50,000. And we had 1,100 for about 6.7 million valued under 50,000. And that would be what we consider to be in our simplified acquisition domain. And less, you know, and 25,000, it's where we begin to advertise to the public of our needs. Just below that quadrant, awards by type, we are looking at everything over 50,000K. Last year, 57% of what we competed for were awarded to the services. A&E, which is our design in our construction, in our engineering department, was at 1%, and construction over 8%. And goods and services, as you can see, goods were 34%, but that really dominated our contracting opportunities. And I'll just leave you to look at the numbers of awards and the amount of dollar values that we do. Okay, next slide, please. Now we are coming to the meat and potatoes of exactly what I do. So the next few slides, we will talk about our procurement processes. And I think this is important information, you know, on the type of contracting methods that we use to go to market and to contract for and to awards contract. All right, next slide, please. I will tell you that the Airports Authority generally uses these types of procurement methods to acquire its goods and services. And I would say that almost all public entities use one or all of these methods when they go to market for opportunities. So we have the request for quotations, we do the invitation for bid, the request for qualification, request for proposal, and all of these usually are competed through full and open competition. Next slide, please. We're going to talk about our request for quotation. These are generally in our simplified acquisition domain. Also, a lot of people call them small purchases, right? The threshold for the request for proposal goes up to $150,000. We can start from $1 all the way up to $150,000. And I think this is definitely an area that anyone who is doing business with MWAA for the first time, or it's a new business, can really get their foot into the door by using this particular or giving us an offer on our requirements under the request for quotation. And I will tell you that for different agencies, there are different thresholds, but this is an excellent opportunity across the federal government, across state, local, and jurisdiction for you to really explore and get your foot in the door so someone can really become familiar with your performance and your product. It also gives you a great past performance experience when you can deliver on time, you can perform, and making sure that you are delivering exactly what the requirements are. So RFQs are prepared by, of course, the procurement professional. It should be clear, concise. It should articulate exactly what we need so you do not have to guess. And we're always out there going anything above $25,000 for full and open competition. That's our threshold for advertising to the public, full and open competition. The thing about us is that once you have given us an offer, you are included in our database because we will have to compile that offer. Even although you may not be successful in that particular opportunity, we now capture your information. So before making an award, we consider several factors. Because these are so simple, we're talking about price. We're looking at your price first. Then we're looking, at your technical ability. But if it's an off-the-shelf, what we call COTS, commercial off-the-shelf items, we want a bottle of water and that's commercially available all over, then there is no past performance. Your ability to meet the delivery dates. The industry may be 30 days. I may want it in 10 days. So what is your capability in offering us and getting it to us within that delivery date? And we talked about past performance and responsibility of vendors. I would tell you that, again, this is key because this is simplified. If you can't perform and you're not a responsible vendor, then I'm telling you, most agency will not want to do business with you because the request for quotation, these are fast turnarounds. We may have it out there for 10 days and you're expected to respond in a short period of time because there is no requirement to write a proposal or do anything like that. So let's go to the next page. And I can tell you, I'll tell you about the request for qualification. I'm sorry, the request for quotation is that, and you will hear from Wande, any goods that is under $50,000 at this point in time, we place in the shelter market. So she'll speak about her programs and you'll hear about the 100% LDBE opportunities, and those are called sheltered markets. So that's just a carve out or a set aside for a better terminology that MWAA is implementing. Let's talk about the advertised seal bidding method, invitation for bid, seal bidding, lump sum, whatever you may want to call it. This is a formal procurement process, and we do advertise this online. All righty. Within the IFB process, there are two methods. We have the invitation for bids. Bids are open publicly. Award is based on price and price-related factors to the lowest responsible offer. That is also the criteria by which RFQs are also awarded. Lowest responsible offer. So in this case, if I want a construction contract, and I think that my specifications are clear, concise, I gave you drawings, everything is there, and all I want you to do is to give me a price, a lump sum price to build something. You have been in the business for a while because that is when we're going to check your technical capabilities and your past performance. So at this point in time, all I'm looking for is the lowest price, which is responsive to all our requirements. And through our due diligence, we are doing our research to make sure that you are a responsible offer. Check your past performance, check your technical capability, all your references. And then we have the two-step IFB. This uses a combination of a competitive procedure and the seal bidding process. So step one is really, we're asking you for a technical proposal. We really am not sure exactly what we want, or we cannot communicate to you in a concise fashion that this is exactly what we want. So we're asking you to write a technical proposal based on certain criteria. Now we evaluate those proposals. Those that are deemed to be acceptable will move into step two. And step 2, all we're asking you to do, again, is to just provide a price. We've already done our due diligence with your technical capability, your past performance. So the second step for those who have met the criteria for an acceptable proposal is to give us a bid. And that bid is a public opening. Right now, we can't have face-to-face, so we're doing it virtually. Next slide, please. This is probably the most complex procurement method out of all of what I am about to speak to, except for the RFQI, which is the qualification base, the competitive negotiated procurement. This is a request for proposal always, meaning that we may want to differentiate qualities between offers. So we use this to select an offer based on criteria other than price, okay? So we have 2 RFP methods: lowest price, technically acceptable. Awards are based on having an evaluation of your proposal, deeming your proposal to be technically acceptable, and then we go with the lowest price. The difference is that you have an opportunity under this RFP process to really sell yourself through answering the questions, telling us about your past performance, all references you have given to us that you have completed projects, and then based on your references, you may have a glowing reference. And so this all adds to the selection process. And then we have best value with trade-offs, which we are allowed to award to other than the lowest price, as long as that offer provides some overall benefit to the Airports Authority. And if there are any questions on that, I can definitely get into that, but I'll just leave it at that the best value with trade-off is that we can award to other than the low price. And if we go to a higher price, then we're trying to trade off something that provides a benefit to the Airports Authority. Next slide, please. Now, this is the whole procurement process, especially on the request for proposal, also request for qualifications. Request for qualifications really addresses A&E, engineering and architectural design. They address legal services. We can also use that for legal services, financial services, contract management services, surveying. And all we are looking for in the request for qualification in step 1 is that you complete the standard, the federal standard form 330, which is just speaking to your performance. And then step 2 of the request for qualification is when we start making the decision as to who the selected offer will be. Alrighty. So our overall procurement process starts with the solicitation, advertise. As I said, we are a public agency, so therefore we must advertise to the community that we have a contracting opportunity upcoming. We have a pre-proposal or pre-bid conference. Vital. I'll talk about that probably in my next slide. Amendments are issued if we need to correct something in the solicitation document. After that, we have a due date for proposal or bids. We may have oral interviews that only happen in the competitive negotiated procurement domain, which is the request for proposal. We may have a best and final offer if we change anything during our competitive range, and then we go to award. Now, number 8 is key for me, debriefings. Because you are unsuccessful, it doesn't mean that you did not submit a good proposal. So in that case, if you receive an unsuccessful letter from us, I would encourage you to request a debriefing. That is your right. That is allowed under the contracting manual. And that gives us an opportunity to communicate with you your strengths and weaknesses in your proposal. What we were looking for, we even sometimes offer suggestions of how you could have improved upon your response to us. So not every unsuccessful letter means that you submitted a terrible proposal. You may have submitted an acceptable proposal, but we may have other offers out there that submitted a better proposals. And so it is required that we choose those particular offerings to be in our competitive range. Next slide, please. Now, I don't know if a lot of people really who are doing outreach really communicate to you what are the major requirements when you are writing a proposal and submitting a proposal. But what we look for in a successful offerings is that you have to conform to the requirements of the solicitation, meaning that we have an offer solicitation and award form. You need to complete that. Your proposal may be great, your price may be great, but your failure to sign that form deems you to be non-responsible. I cannot accept an offer if you have not signed the solicitation offer and award form. That is how you say that, hey, MWAA, I am giving you this offering. If you don't sign it, I can't accept it. It's not a valid offer. You must obtain the appropriate insurance, including Virginia workers' compensation, in accordance with the solicitation. Yes, the airport has a DC address, but we reside in the state of Virginia, therefore you'll have to have Virginia workers' compensation. If you're in construction and concession, you have to be able to be bonded. And our bonding requirements are always in our solicitation. If you are in construction, you'll have to hold a contractor's license in the state of Virginia, required for all construction projects. You need to be certified as an LDBE, DB, or an ACDBE. Again, these are all nice acronyms, and Wande will definitely break them down for you. Just remember them. And for those of us who are in construction and need the requirements and how you get licensed in the state of Virginia, we have the website just below that. These slides are available to you so you can go back and really review them, review this information. Next slide, please. Now, keys to an effective proposal. If you take nothing away from this presentation, you may be sitting there thinking, I've heard this before, this is a boring presentation. I suggest that you pay attention to this, because not every agency tells you what you need to be effective and succeed when you write a proposal. First of all, please read the solicitation. Not only the scope of work, but read our terms and conditions. So understanding the requirement is key. What this does for us is that once we have a pre-bid or pre-proposal conference, this is a great opportunity in which you can ask as many questions as you want. We even entertain questions after we hold this conference. This is an exchange of an idea or ideas, because you are out there in the market. You know your business. You know what's happening. We may have written something that is outdated. This is your opportunity at this point in time to say, hey, you know, you have a scope of work out there. That process, that technology is obsolete. We're not even using that anymore. So this gives us an exchange of conversations so we can go back if we need to and improve the scope of work so we can have maximum competition out there. So I would suggest that you attend all pre-bid and pre-proposal conferences, and that at the end of the day, if we have not addressed all your questions, you have an opportunity to submit those questions in writing. Perform market research. That is key. This means know your competition. Construction, services, very competitive. So you have to know your competition. You have to also do market research. The internet is out there. But the key to market research is to have a costing system that you are capturing your cost so you can make informed decisions when you provide a pricing, okay? So you just have to do as much research as possible and make sure that your research aligns with the requirements that you're competing on. Establish qualified teaming partners. And this goes mostly to our small businesses. If you want to pursue an opportunity and you think that you don't have the bonding capacity or you don't have the specialized experience, then you should consider teaming with someone that does. You know, this is called a joint venture. This is called a teaming agreement, all kinds of names. But you have to pursue as many opportunities that's going to serve you and make sure that you're putting food on the table. Set yourself apart from the competition. If you do something unique, if you do something that you think that nobody else is doing out there, or you do it better, this is the time that you are writing your proposal. You are making sure that you are selling yourself. There is no shame in selling yourself. If you're good at something, you make sure that that's included in your proposal, because these are the little things that the evaluation team looks at. Demonstrate your firm's capability to perform. Make sure you have the prerequisite experience. You have the resources, that means manpower and equipment, to perform, and you're not stretching yourself too thin, and the ability to subcontract. In our business, you could be a small business and you can subcontract to other small business. This is how we spread the wealth when it comes to experience and past performance. Provide current and relevant references. I cannot tell you the amount of time that I read a proposal and you copy, or not you in general, that person copies from one response that they did to one agency, and now they're responding to almost a similar requirements, and it's a copy and paste job. And that's just not acceptable. Not for you. It doesn't bode well and give your firm a positive look. And by then the evaluators, they are just totally put off, because we're saying that, hey, you don't even spend the time to know that this is not WMATA, but MWAA, which is a common mistake. And make sure that your references know that you have put in a proposal and that they may get a call. Make sure it's the correct number, email, person that we need to contact. And of course, if you have a cost accounting system, then you're going to have a good estimate. Your estimate is going to be realistic, because you're going to go back to your costing module and you're going to see what it cost you last year to perform that particular requirement, and you are going to get some good numbers to do a realistic cost estimate. And follow the submission requirement and perform quality control. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, have someone reading that proposal that had nothing to do with that proposal in writing that proposal. Because if you can communicate to someone that knew nothing about what you were proposing on, and it communicates well to that person, then you know that, hey, I have a good product here, and those evaluators that's looking at this product possibly feels the same way. Next slide, please. Let's talk about successful performance, because this is key. Getting a contract is just the first step. There are so many other steps that you need to execute on to be profitable and successful. Know the players and their roles and responsibilities. Once we award a contract, we have what is called a pre-performance conference, or pre-award or post-award conference, I should say, post-award conference. And we have a kickoff meeting. We introduce you to the end users of that product, and we facilitate a conversation. We go through the important requirements of the solicitation. We introduce everyone. We talk about the communication, roles and responsibility, who does what. So you have a good idea when you run into a problem with executing or there's an issue, who to call and who not to call. And one person that you do not call when you are thinking about a change to the contract or submitting a proposal for modification, the only person you need to be in communication with is the contracting officer. That's the only one with the delegated responsibility in which to modify that contract. We just went through about a post-award conference, and this says if it was offered to you, you should request one because it's going to give you some important information, critical information in order to succeed, okay? And of course, we look at, you need to understand what is important to the owner. At the end of the day, what the owner is looking for and how we make that decision, how when you list us as a reference, how we communicate to that particular person requesting that reference about your performance, okay? So the next step, we're going to talk about capability and stability, all right? So capability really is based on your past performance. Next slide, please, I'm sorry. It's really going to talk about your past performance and qualification. And that means that, the firm has fully conducted itself and represents itself, in a positive light, that you have the prerequisite past performance, prerequisite financial wherewithal to perform in this job, So you have a solid project schedule, you know what it is to execute, you have enough resources that if you're behind schedule, you can put additional resources, you know what it is you have done a realistic estimate, and you're keeping your eye on your performance actually on the job and your budget, because you have to have a budget. You're making sure that you're utilizing your manpower equipment effectively and efficiently so you can reduce costs wherever you need to, because in reducing that cost means that you're becoming more profitable. You have to anticipate changes. You have to have a good project manager to manage those changes in the field. You have to have a good supervisor to really manage your subcontractors. You have to have a good subcontract plan. Most prime contractor fails because of their subcontract, because they say, oh, I subcontracted that piece out, therefore I don't need to keep my eye on it. No, this is your business. You need to manage from the moment you get that award all the way through completion. You need to manage. You have to understand risk so you can minimize your risk at every point in that execution and performance of that requirement. So these are just a little bit tidbits that I wanted to take you through the procurement process. I think I've packed a lot. I am going to turn it over to my dear colleague, Miss Leintu, which may get you more excited if I did not. So please, as Yasmin say, if you have any question, just put it in the chat box and I'll address it all. Wande, take it away.
Thank you. As always, Liz, thank you so much for such a great and informative presentation. Vendor community, I must share that with you. I'm always very humbled by Liz's dedication and commitment to this very important cause. Liz didn't tell you that, but she brings a wealth of knowledge, procurement knowledge to you. She has over 30 years of procurement, especially in the federal sector, procurement and engineering knowledge that she's bringing to you. So hopefully you heard her loud and clear, and you now know exactly how to successfully compete for MWAA opportunities. So Liz has always been a champion of supplier diversity. She's always jumped on every opportunity to collaborate with the Department of Supplier Diversity so we can increase small and minority business participation in MWAA contracting opportunities. So let's give Liz a round of virtual applause, please. Wonderful. Well, all right. I know I am the one standing between you and all your wonderful questions that I already started seeing in the chat box. So I'll make this as sweet and short as possible. I don't know about you, though. I definitely miss the human connection, but I know the best is yet to come, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to thank the Maryland PTAC for organizing this event, as well as you all. I want to applaud you really for being here today. It speaks volume about your commitment and dedication to really take your businesses to the next level and drive economic impact within the communities we all serve. It also speaks to your resiliences. It's amazing how despite all these challenges, you are still up and running. Congratulations. Let's give you also a round of applause. Wonderful. Okay, well, let's get through the Department of Supplier Diversity. My goal today really is to give you an overview of the Department of Supplier Diversity. Now that you understand the procurement process from Liz, I want to make sure that you, as small and minority and local businesses, also know how to take advantage of the resources we have within the Department of Supplier Diversity and take advantage of our various small business programs to successfully get your foot in the door, okay? So with that, next slide, please. The Department of Supplier Diversity was created back in 1989 by what I call a visionary board of directors. The board was so visionary at the time, and they still are, and committed, that they knew that the minority then will become the majority at some point with a very high purchasing power, dictating to the corporations of America how they want to be treated. They also knew very early on that supplier diversity will evolve from a check the box program to a strategic tool for organizations to maintain their competitive advantage. How amazing is that? That is wonderful. So our mission is very simple. It's one and only one. It is to promote and ensure the maximum utilization of small, local, minority, and women-owned businesses in MWAA contracting opportunities. How do we do that? We implement 3 small business programs to achieve that objective. And I'm only going to highlight those programs high level now, as I'm going to take time later on during the presentation to actually take you through the details and everything you need to know about each and every one. So the first one is the MWAA Local Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. That is one I'm very proud of. It is an MWAA specific program that was created again back in 1989 when the Department of Supplier Diversity was created. So speaking again about our commitment and how visionary we are as an organization, the next one is the Federal Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, which is a Department of Transportation program that we implement because we are a grant recipient from DOT through the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. Next, Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. As an airport grant recipient from the Department of Transportation, we also have to ensure the maximum utilization of socially and economically disadvantaged businesses within the airport concession arena. So what are our functions? How do we make sure, we are really not only helping you be aware of who we are, what we do, our upcoming opportunities, but also that we are making sure that you are able to bid and you are treated fairly once you have a contract with MWAA or a subcontract with MWAA. So the Department of Supplier Diversity in that has 3 main functions. The first one is strategic outreach. I call it strategic because it's critical, because it doesn't matter how committed you are to supplier diversity, unless you have a meaningful, intentional, and strategic outreach program in place, you are not doing this business community a favor. So we focus a lot of time and energy on a yearly basis on identifying and assessing how can we continue to efficiently and effectively keep you aware of the important opportunities within MWAA. We do it through our supplier diversity management system, which I will also speak through in more details later, and as well as our partnership with the wonderful industry partners such as Maryland PTAC, the CRMSTCs, the WPEOs, the WMCA, all those great organizations to further promote our programs and opportunities. We are the certification arm for the authority, as well as the certification, one of the two certifying agencies within the state of Virginia for the DBE and ACDBE program. And certification, I love to say, is the gatekeeper, okay? We have to make sure it doesn't matter how many outreach or event we attend or how great our outreach is, if it's not translating into certification, well, we have a way to go, because certification is what ends up justifying the DSD's establishment of a participation requirement or goal on our opportunities. So, and it also, certification also allows us to really make sure that only those businesses that are deserving in participating on those small business opportunities are. It prevents pass-throughs. We want to make sure that only our small local minority and women-owned businesses are actually taking advantage of those opportunities. Next is compliance, which again, it's 10:46 and I want to make sure we have time to go through questions. Our compliance is amazing. We have a supplier diversity management system we use. And it's just wonderful. We are part of we do the requirement setting. We also review, we are part of the pre-award, contract pre-award process, where once we have established a solicitation before procurement makes an award, they come back to us saying, hey, DSD, have you all reviewed this subcontracting plan? Is this prime demonstrating that they can achieve the supplier diversity participation percentage? And we do post-award compliance, keeping the primes honest, right? Making sure that they are in compliance with the subcontracting plan that was initially approved by us. Next slide, please. And we do quite a bit of reporting, always assessing the effectiveness of what we do and reporting on our small business achievement to the various agencies. The LDBE program, I promise I will go through it. Here it is. This is everything you need to know. It applies to it's an MWAA specific small business program, like I said, and it applies to non-federally funded project. Well, for those who don't know, over 90% of our projects are non-federally funded. We don't receive a lot of financial assistance from the feds. So please make sure you pay special attention to the LDBE program, as most likely it'll be the best way for you to get your foot in the door. And our annual participation requirement are 25% for construction-related contract, which just means that a minimum of 25% of all our construction spend and has to go to LDBE firms, MWAA certified LDBE firms, and 20% participation on goods and services. And that is why we are reviewing solicitations and establishing those solicitation-specific participation requirement, so we can not only achieve, but really exceed this 25 and 20%. So what do you need to know? What are the eligibility requirements to certify as an LDBE? I love to brag about our certification, that it is one of the best, easiest, and most simple certification out there. It's only a 3 pages application, vendor community. Can you believe that? I'm sure those of you who have gone through the process can believe that. And you only have to meet 3 requirements to be eligible. First, you have to be small, according to the SBA size standard, which is based on your 3 years annual gross receipt. And second, you have to be organized for profit. And third, you have to be located within 100-mile radius of the 0-mile marker, which is at the ellipse right next to the White House. So our LDBE, the geographical location really covers the whole state of Maryland, Virginia, as well as the district, and it extends to Delaware and part of Pennsylvania as well. So I'm sure all of you qualify to be LDBE certified. So I'm looking forward to seeing an increased volume of certification in the next few days, or I will reach out to Yasmin. All right, well, we do review solicitations really to assign LDBE participation requirement, where our statement of work provide viable prime and subcontracting opportunities, while ensuring adequate competition once that solicitation is advertised on the MWAA.com website. And the one thing to note here is that, to maximize your chances of success, we strongly encourage you to really only apply for those NAICS codes that truly reflect your areas of expertise. Some people like to apply for 15, 20 different NAICS codes. I will say no, we keep it to 5, and we want you to really only apply for those that match your areas of expertise. Next slide, please. And this next slide really just goes through our requirement setting process. I really wanted to make sure I touch on that today, so you really have a good idea of how we go through that requirement setting process to make sure that you are receiving your fair share of that MWAA procurement pie. Okay, so as I told you earlier, we are part of the MWAA procurement process. How many organizations include supplier diversity as part of the procurement process, where the procurement cannot move to the next step or next phase unless DSD has made a determination? So of course, we review procurement, make sure we have received the statement of work, the independent cost estimate, and any other relevant documentation for our review, so we can determine, first of all, so we can make sure we have a good understanding of what the organization is looking to procure, as well as what is the cost, the estimated cost for that procurement. And that is critical, because that allows us to review our directory and match that opportunity to certified firms, of course, under those NAICS codes or those commodity codes that have the technical and financial capabilities to perform such work. By technical, really, I mean the firm has, enough employees. If it's a labor contract, for example, that require a specific number of employees, we want to make sure that you have enough employees to handle that contract. We make sure that you have experience. It doesn't have to be airport experience unless it's a solicitation that really requires airport specific experience, which we don't have many solicitations that require that. Of course, solicitations that includes work on airfield and runways. Of course, some majority of the time we may say, well, this requires prior experience depending on the work, but we want to make sure you have performed similar work for similar organization. It can be in size, and we also want to make sure that you have the financial capability. You may be the best at what you do. And if your annual gross receipt is $1 million and this contract is a $5 to $10 million contract, well, we're not going to utilize your data to justify establishing a requirement, because we have to make sure that Liz spoke about stability and capability. We have to make sure that, we have to cover our bases while also making sure we're not going to run you out of business in no time. So of course, that's how we do our requirement setting. And to put all chances on our side, we of course check our system to identify any expired LDBE that may be qualified and extend an invitation to them. We do Google searches. We collaborate with our strategic partners, the Maryland PTAC, to say, well, this is what we're looking for. Do you know of any that meet these requirements? And can you please invite them to certify? And our LDB certification process really only takes 30 days. But I can tell you that, we are proud to say that majority of our certification applications that are complete are processed within a week. So next slide, please. So that's our requirement setting process. So it's critical that we are doing our part. It's critical that you do your part, that you make sure, if you are interested in doing business with MWAA, that you don't wait until you see an opportunity that matches your area of expertise, that you really are proactive in certifying. So not only we can use that data to establish, to justify establishing LDBE participation requirement, but that we are also notifying you of those targeted opportunities that match your area of expertise. And once that solicitation is posted, once that solicitation is posted, we always send you an outreach notification letting you know that a solicitation that matches one of your areas of expertise is posted and is advertised and asking you to bid if you are interested. And of course, we engage with our strategic partners as well, so they can expand our awareness of that specific opportunity. And if needs be, we may do a host information session for complex solicitation even prior to advertising such solicitations, to make sure the vendor community is aware and can react to what we are about to do. Next slide, please. Okay, I believe the next slide is the ACDBE-DBE program. I mentioned to you earlier that in addition to the MWAA specific LDBE, we also implement the DBE and ACDBE program because we are an airport grant recipient from the Department of Transportation through FAA. And therefore, on those airport-funded projects, we have to also provide those socially and economically disadvantaged businesses a fair chance to compete. And those DBE projects usually apply to construction and construction-related trades on runway and airfield. So if you are not performing any of those work, I will not encourage you to go through the DBE certification. If you are not planning to perform any of those work for MWAA, let me be specific. I encourage you not to go through the DBE certification process, which can be a little bit overwhelming, and processing time is 90 days. We require a lot more for those who have gone through the process, And ACDBE, of course, is because we are an airport grant recipient. Therefore, we also have to make sure that our socially and economically disadvantaged businesses are fairly competing and being included in those airport concession opportunities. By airport concession, we are talking about, our duty-free, retail, food and beverage establishment, car rental opportunities that are within airport. So to apply for the DBE or ACDBE certification, you can either come through us. As I told you, we are one of the 2 certifying agencies in the state of Virginia, or you can go through the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. Next, please. All right, this is our Supplier Diversity portal. Very proud of this. It integrates all our functions into one. This is what we use to do outreach. This is the system you use to certify. We will definitely, as Yasmin said, we will send you this slide so you know where to go to certify for LDBE certification. We have a LDBE certification workshop coming up on April 22nd. For those that are interested, just go to our website. You'll see it. Definitely register. We'll take you through the ABCs of how to successfully certify. This is where, once you also have a contract with MWAA, this is where you're going to be conducting those compliance activities. This is where the Prime on a monthly basis has to report all payments made to LDBEs. And this is the system that also automatically notifies the LDBEs so they can confirm that and verify that the Prime has indeed paid them what they're reporting. This is where you can see the directory of other LDBE firms. Next, please. Okay, this is very important. It's critical. This is the sources. This is the website that highlights the sources of our procurement information. If you want to know anything about current upcoming opportunities, contracting manuals, any other forms, business outreach event, calendars and materials, DSD, anything related to DSD programs, this is where you're gonna go. Next, please. Okay, the next one, this is amazing. This is our quarterly procurement forecast. It is published, as I said, quarterly. And it is amazing as he highlights all those opportunities ahead of time. You know, it is a tool that we strategically use within the Department of Supplier Diversity to make sure that you have a good idea as to what's in the pipeline. So you have time to prepare to do what you need to do, acquire the specific licenses that Liz mentioned, you know, identify a joint venture partner if it's an opportunity that you cannot bid by yourself. You cannot compete for by yourself. So this is amazing. It allows you to know what's upcoming so you can prepare to successfully compete, win, and perform, okay? So this is another material that Yasmin will be sending to you along with our supplier diversity brochure, which highlights everything about the Department of Supplier Diversity and the link to our certification portal, as well as the presentation. Next, please. Okay, next, please. In closing, just a few key takeaway. I'm not going to go through them since you'll be getting this presentation. It's 11. I'll give you time to ask questions. So thank you very much again. And we look forward to more success stories. And thank you, Alana, for working so diligently with Yasmin to actually make this event happen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Wande, and thank you, Lizbeth, for a fantastic presentation. Yes, first, before we get to a couple of questions, a couple of things I want to remind everybody. This has been recorded and the replay will be available this afternoon. I will send you the link and I will also send you these slides and a couple of other documents that the MWAA team have supplied for you. So great information here. So some of the questions we'll go through quickly. Some you may have already answered during the presentation. So if you could just answer briefly and we'll see if we can get through a handful because I know that the time is up. Okay, this question is regarding the bidding procurement method for contract values from 25K to 150K. How do you handle any contracts that are under 25K?
Okay, so our formal advertising begins at 25K right now, which will be increased later. So anything under 25, we use our resources. We go to Wande's database, her B2G Now database, and we first go to that database, use the NAICS codes to see who have registered under those NAICS codes. And so we send that solicitation directly out to them by email. Or we may go on the internet and find companies. So we do both because we are not formally advertising for anything under 25K. And there was another question about 5,000. Same process for anything from $1 to 25K. We use our database and also whatever other resources we can find to solicit competition.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is past performance based only on federal experience?
No, it's not. As Wande stated, if you have past performance, we may, in the evaluation criteria, we may ask for 5 years of experience. If you have that and it's not specific or it's not an expertise that we need, Wande mentioned airports authorities experience. There's some, we do get grants from the federal government. So sometimes there are specific FAA requirements that you have that experience with another airport. But no, I would say the general response to that would be no. You just need to look at what we're asking for in the evaluation criteria.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is there a possibility of a virtual meet and greet with procurement officers?
Yes, there is. And yeah, I would say yes. It depends on your needs and what you're trying to communicate to us.
Yeah. So we usually ask for your capability statement, and you definitely shall come through the Department of Supplier Diversity, and we will coordinate all meetings with the relevant stakeholders. So yeah, we'll determine if there can be a meeting depending on your request. If it's, for example, specific to an active procurement, we'll tell you no, because we cannot disclose any information about any active procurement. and we'll refer you to the contracting officer assigned to that procurement. But if it's specific to other staff, definitely come through us, and we will make sure to address your request appropriately and guide you to the appropriate folks if needs be.
Okay, thank you. And I think we only have time for a couple more. If you have a certification in Maryland and Virginia, is a submission process the same as Metropolitan?
If you have a certification with who?
In Maryland and Virginia.
Okay, it depends on the small business programs we are referring to. If you are a DBE and ACD or ACDBE and or ACDBE certified within the MDOT or VDOT, of course, you can go through the interstate certification process, which once you send, Yasmin, once you share the brochure with the vendor community, the participant, they will see exactly, those regulations or which links to click to have access to those information. For the LDBE program, there's no reciprocity. The LDBE is MWAA specific, so you can really only go through MWAA to certify as an LDBE. However, we do have a streamlined certification process for DC certified business enterprises. So instead of a 3 pages application, we have developed a 1.5 pages application back in 2015 in collaboration with Mayor Bowser, for the DC folks to more quickly get their foot in the door. And we are working on a similar initiative with the Maryland Small Business Reserve Program.
Okay, thank you. And one final question before we wrap this up. How can our business be part of the MWAA database?
By going through our certification process. Again, like I said, I strongly encourage you, if you're not planning to participate on an airport concession opportunity, meaning you're not planning to have a stand at the airport, and you are not planning to bid on those DBE related projects, which, like I said, are usually construction and construction related project on airfield. And we only have an average of 3 DBE projects on a yearly basis. I will strongly encourage you to apply for the LDBE certification. A workshop is coming up on 4/22. Definitely go to the website and you can see that information, and or shoot an email to Alana or myself. And that's the best way to get your foot in the door by certifying as an LDBE. We don't have a non-LDBE vendor registration page. We have an LDBE directory, which is what we use, NDB and ACDBE, which is what we use to really promote our programs and opportunities, as well as our partners like the Maryland PTAC. And yes, this is Wande from Kaiser to Anna. Very nice to,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Well, thank you. That's all we have time for today. I'd like to thank the MWAA team, Lizbeth, Wande, and Alana for putting this great presentation together. I'm so pleased we were able to schedule this as we're trying to do more outreach. I appreciate it. Thank you to the audience for being so engaging and asking great questions. I'm going to send the replay of the video and also the slides to you so you can watch and take notes and send emails with your questions that didn't get answered. And hopefully you'll be able to be doing business with MWAA very soon. So thank you all. Stay safe, and we hope to see you in future at another Maryland PTAC or even MWAA event. So thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.